Have you ever wondered what a Charlotte Mason science study looks like? Have you thought, is it only books? Isn't there more? Well, today I want to share with you a wonderful science resource that uses the Charlotte Mason methods. Hello, and welcome back to Wholehearted Homemaking, where I talk about all things motherhood, homemaking, and homeschooling related. My name is Heather, and I am mama to 7 from ages 2 to 14. Today, I want to share with you about our favorite science resource for the upper grades. Now, this would be 4th grade and beyond. The reason I say that is because between about grades 1 through 3, ages 6 through 10-ish, you are going to just focus on nature study with your young one. You're going to be doing nature journaling and do some nature studies and special studies. And I'll be sharing one of my favorite resources for that next week, so make sure you check back. But today, I want to talk about what you do with the 4th graders on up. Now, Charlotte Mason has 6 volumes. It's a lot to get through. There are many resources I can point you to help you narrow that down, but there isn't really a substitute for reading her volumes, and I know they're hard. I do have some resources on the blog where I share my read-throughs of her books, but really it is vital to understanding her method. However, I'm going to give you a quick nitty-gritty, and you can find this information at sabbathmoodhomeschool.com. Nicole Williams, is an amazing homeschool mom. She has homeschooled her siblings and others as well. And she shares a wealth of knowledge. Now, if you heard the name Nicole Williams and thought, I know that name, yes, that is the Nicole Williams from A Delectable Education podcast. And so you can check her out there. They have several podcasts about nature study and science studies that go into more detail than what I'm going to do. But today what I want to share is how Sabbath Mood is broken up, and it does encompass most of what Charlotte Mason says for a science curriculum for upper elementary through high school. Now, I'm not going to talk about high school too much. Actually, I'm not going to talk about high school at all today because I haven't done it yet. We will be doing that this year, and hopefully I'll give you a review afterwards. But today I want to talk to you about what we call Form 2, which is 4th through 6th grade. I have done the middle school segments as well, and that will be another video in the future. But for now, I want to talk to you about Form 2 studies. Now, if you go to the Sabbath Mood Homeschool website, you're going to find a lot of different information. It's kind of confusing. You might need to take a few minutes to seek it out, find it out. But basically, you're going to want to go over to the curriculum studies, and you're going to drop that down and choose your grades. I'm going to talk to you about Form 2, which is generally 4th through 6th grade. You can push it and do it with older kids. You can even try it with younger kids. It really just depends on your family and what you prefer, but it is intended for those 4th to 6th graders. I have used them, almost all of them, for my children. And so I thought I'd hop on and share a review because there aren't very many out there. Also, if you stick around, I will give you a walkthrough through one of the curriculums that we used and loved. So first things first, let's talk about the different way, how this is different from a regular science curriculum. Now, if you are in a grade school, you are going to be given a science textbook, and you will have units that you do, and you read from the textbook. You will have worksheets and tests, and your teacher may do some supplemental activities for you with that. And we kind of all know what that looks like. And Charlotte Mason studies don't look that way. A Charlotte Mason science study is kind of made up of a few different parts, and it kind of depends what grade level you're looking at. But since we're looking at 4th through 6th grade, you will see that the components include nature lore, which are going to be kind of fictional stories about, or it could be nonfiction, but they're going to be stories about nature. You may think of like the Peter Rabbit. Beatrix Potter would be a loose one, but the other Peter Rabbit, which is in the Burgess books, those kind of stories are nature lore. So that's one component. You're also going to continue nature study. With Charlotte Mason, nature study doesn't end, which is great because I love being part of it too. So you're going to have your nature lore and your nature study, and those are actually written in to the Form 2 curriculum that I'm going to show you in a minute. And then you will also have a spine or a textbook, not a textbook, but a book that you will be using for that particular curriculum throughout the 12 weeks, because each of her guides are made for 12 weeks. And you're going to follow that subject book for the whole 12 weeks, broken up into small sections in which you either read to your child or they read independently and then narrate either orally or written, drawing, however you choose. The other part that is different is you are going to have some lab work. And that's what I love about Nicole's curriculum. Now, a few years ago, I was in an immersion program in a retreat, and I got to meet Nicole, and we did her magnet unit, and it was phenomenal. You guys, all the moms were just having a blast doing it, and I was like, I know we need to do this. However, my child at that time was very much into rocks. So we started with geology, and she loved it. So I'm going to go through the different curriculums and give you a quick kind of run through of it, and then I will show you through one what it really looks like. So first up is geology, and I only have the cover page because we did a digital. That is another great thing about Nicole's program. For $15, you can download the digital copies. You have them all the time. And then for $25, you can order the books, which I'll show you here in a minute. So it's really budget friendly, and a lot of the experiments are budget friendly as well. My daughter loved the geology. I can't find the book for it. We looked high and low for it today and cannot find it, but it is the first book of Earth. The first book series is primarily used during the Form 2, and it gives a very quick, gentle, these aren't super beautiful, elaborately read stories. That's what you're getting in your natural, okay? This is like your history spine. These are your science spine. They're going to go through the facts, and it's going to be well written, and it's going to be relatable, but they aren't going to be like, oh, I can't wait to read that again. Usually that's what we found, at least. And so my daughter really loved the geology. I believe to buy the kit, it had like a rock kit. We just got a different one, and we got a rock tumbler. And that Christmas that we did this, she got literally boxes of rocks for Christmas. We really got into it, and she loved it. And so there's the geology section, which is great for your little rock hounds. The next one is magnets, and again, I printed it out. And so it's kind of a hot mess in this folder at the moment. But we did the magnets one, and it doesn't come with. You have to buy the book separate. But the books are all very reasonably priced. You can find them cheap all over the place. You can even find them used. So this is Magnets by Rocco V. Ferravolo. I don't know. My kids had a blast, as we did, mothers did. There are so many practical ways to do this. Lots of very fun hands-on experiments. And it was this is the hit of Form 2. Let me just tell you. Next, we did chemistry. And that got into matter, molecules, and atoms. And this one was also fun. I will say that at the same time we did Form 3 chemistry, and I will talk about Form 3 more, but the Form 3 chemistry was way more fun. But Form 2 chemistry was a great introduction to matter, molecules, and atoms. You really talk about the different states of matter and how that really interacts in our world. This book these are older books, so their pictures are kind of funky, but my kids really enjoyed all of the experiments, and they actually really enjoyed this book. All right, this is probably our second most favorite, and that was Engineering and Technology for Form 2. And this is going to be your basic matter physics. This is going to be dealing with machines, and my kids loved it. They loved the book and learning about all the different things. There's a lot of links inside of the curriculum that I'm going to show you in a few minutes, and they led to videos that my kids loved watching and wanting to know more, and it just led to more spin-offs. And this and magnets were probably the most engaged they've been in one of these studies. Highly recommend Form 2 Tech and Engineering. I will tell you that I did not do the Form 3 version of this because it is cost prohibitive for our family, but they really love the Tech and Engineering one. And then that comes to this year. So that was 2 years ago. This year we did, and I didn't say this, but we do 3 a year. So you have one study per term, and you're rotating through many subjects, which is kind of how elementary science curriculum tends to be. They don't focus a whole year on a subject, and Charlotte Mason embraces that. And so that's what you're doing. So then this winter we did astronomy. And my kids and I got a little interrupted in this one because we had a family crisis. And so this got spread out over a very long time, but we absolutely love this one as well. It would probably be, those top 3 are kind of all contenders there. But the astronomy one is really great, and the book with it is phenomenal. If you are looking for an astronomy book, you want this H.A. Rey, Finding the Constellations. Yes, H.A. Rey, who wrote Curious George. He also wrote some amazing constellation books. There is a partner book to this that is more of a reference guide, and I used that as a mom, and I loved it because it had just so much so much wisdom in it, but it really goes through and talks about the different stars and the magnitude. It talks about the constellations and some of the stories behind it, but not all of them. It really focuses on them memorizing the constellations and having that in their head. And the guide that goes along with it was equally wonderful, helped lead us through it. You can see I also have, I don't even know if this was part of the curriculum or something else, but I had little inventors, or not astronomers, that I had printed off. I think that's from some other curriculum, but I printed it off and we used it in our book of centuries. It had them going out and counting the stars each night. And this worked really well for us, especially in the winter when the sun goes down earlier. So since we are very close to Indianapolis and near a plant, we have a lot of city glow. And so doing it in the winter, we had to wait even then until about 10 or 11 o'clock at night to really get a good view of the sky. But by doing it in winter, we were able to view all that. And my kids loved it. We also used a star app with it and just so many wonderful things with astronomy. And I highly recommend this one as well. And then last but not least, this spring we did weather. And even though it is the most beat up of my books, it is the one that we use least, and that's just because we ran out of time. We actually did not love this particular book. It goes through all the topics. It goes through it decently. It was just, and it may have just been me. It was boring though. But I will give it another shot next time around. But it was really hard for me to get into the readings. And so we used a few other books and a lot of videos, and this one has you building a weather station and a couple other things that we just, we had a rough year. So it was hard for us to get all of it done, but I still think it is valuable and I think it's worthwhile. There's a lot that we didn't get to just because of time, that goes through all these different weather concepts. And this one is really wonderful. As you can see, I bought it from Amazon, printed, $25, and it was all bound, and that was nice. And that is what we used, and we kind of sort of did it. I think we got about a third of the way through. I have things like making a cloud that you do, and it has just some different information, all weather related. It was a very good introduction to weather for kids, and not a basic, like, let's keep a weather chart. You could do that, but we chose not to because they were 5th and 6th grade. There are two that I don't have because we will be doing them this winter and this spring, and that is, what is it called? Physics and the Energy, which is electronics based, and then we will be ending with botany, which then we will have done all of them. And then this fall, we are doing physics with waves, and that book is all about sound. And so I can't give you a review on these ones yet or tell you exactly what it's about, but I can tell you that that it was not, for the materials for it, is not very expensive. So now that I have shown you all the different curriculums and what they are, what they cover, let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to quickly show you the inside of one of the books. I'm trying to think which one I want to show you. How about we go through chemistry real quick? So every book you go through, whether you print it or you purchase it, is going to have a Charlotte Mason quote at the beginning, as most Charlotte Mason curriculums do. Every single one looks like this. You can actually view this page online on her website, and you have these handy dandy QR codes that will send you to your exams and give you your exam questions, which is very helpful. She talks about whatever the spine text is, and then a bit about the author, tells you some other things about nature components that you're going to add in, and what the schedule is. So if you see here, the schedule is lesson 1 will always be your nature lore for the most part. Lesson 2 is a natural history science lesson, and that is going to be your reading and sometimes an activity. Lesson 3 are special studies reading or a natural history activity. Then on the back, it's going to give you some information about keeping a science notebook and a nature notebook, because starting in grade 4, we are going to have a notebook for nature. Now, for science, I mean. You could put that in your nature notebook if you'd like. You could put it in your regular narrations notebook. We found it handy to have a separate notebook just for science. That way, when we're doing science, we can just pull it out. Then you're going to have some nature lore suggestions. Yeah, that's right. You don't have to do a specific nature lore. Sometimes I take from the suggestions, and sometimes I just pick a book that I think my child will like that's not even related to the topic. It's just something that they would enjoy. I'm trying to look through here. So Burgess' Book of Nature Lore is always good. What other? Among the People series by Claire Dillingham Pearson. Lay of the Land was not a hit with my oldest, but we are doing it again with my other one. Let's see here. Here's some others. Life and Her Children by Arabella Buckley, Madam How, and Lady Y. These are just suggestions. If you go to our website, she has an extensive list of nature lore broken up by grade level. You could even peruse that. Those are just options. And then she gives you a little information about how to do special studies. If you're not familiar with how to do special studies, she also has that on her blog. You can even purchase ready-made special studies to do with your children. And then she has leisure reading suggestions. So Charlotte Mason was really big on kids having in their afternoon time to read on their own. And so that's included in it. I don't actually make my kids do that. I do try to have a few of these on the shelf, and more often than not, my kids will pick them up off the shelf and read them. Story of Chemistry is one that my kids have read. Madame Curie, and you know we do science biographies. That's actually where we add in. Instead of another leisure reading or something like that, we usually have biographies, but I do try to get a couple of these to have on the shelf because they are specific to the topic. All right, then you have the supply list, and you can find every single supply list right now before you even purchase the curriculum. Go to Sabbath Mood, click on the one you want, check out the supply list. You can price it out. That's what I've done, and that has helped me decide whether or not we could do that curriculum at that term. All right, so Form 2 is different from Form 3 and 4 because they give you this teacher prep one. And I love the teacher prep page. It helps me know what to look for the week. Even if we don't finish it all in 1 week, I know, okay, before I do the next set of lessons, here's what I need to get. And so you're going to have your materials. So you can see here, this first lesson had a QR code to a matter chart where they're going to outline whether it's solid, liquid, or gas, and you can make your own. It's literally just a PDF of that, and they can put it in their notebook, but that's what we do for that. And so I'm going to gather all my materials. Obviously, some of these, like I'm not going to get milk out until we do the lesson, but I know I need to have milk in the house. And then she has like how to schedule your week and gives you some tips. And down here, like the value of nature study, just little teacher helps, so to speak. And then lesson 1, like we said, is always going to be nature lore. Sorry, I keep moving around. And so it will be read your particular book, and it'll say 3 to 4 pages. That's up to you. You want to read a whole chapter? Go for it. Your kid only can read 2 pages? Go for it. Yeah, this is not a set in stone kind of curriculum. And then you're going to have your child narrate. Pretty common practice, as Charlotte May said. And if you don't know what narration is, it's simply a matter of telling back what you've read. Just like your kid, when they go to a friend's house and they come back and tell you all the things they did, that's narration. Only this time we're going to tell what we read in our book. Then the other part is the afternoon occupation. I don't do that. Sorry, I just don't have time to fit that in with all my kids of their various ages, but I will sometimes read what it is and give my kids an option. Usually it's that they need to go outside and do a nature walk. So I send my kids outside all the time. My kids beg to go outside. They're always looking for nature things. They know that they can journal at any point in time, and they do have specific things they have to journal at given times. And so that's kind of what the afternoon occupation is, but I don't always do what it says. Then lesson 2 is going to be your natural history. Sometimes it's an activity, sometimes it's just a natural history. And she gives you these little things. You could read it like a script if you want, or you could just read it ahead of time and then give your kids the gist of what it says. But those are things that help you. And also because none of the books she chooses are actually Christian. They are all secular books, but they don't, none of them in Form 2 are something that would be a concern for me as a devout Christian. But the helps in some of them, especially in the astronomy one, I remember, and I believe in the geology one, are great because they tell you a little bit about the subject matter from a Christian perspective, because you're going to come across different things that you may not agree with as a Christian, and I appreciate that. Sometimes these are just helps that need updated because they're older books. Sometimes it's just additional information. So like today we're beginning chemistry is the branch of science. This is just kind of giving you some leading questions to get towards that capital idea. And then you're gonna have the student or the teacher read, and it tells you what your reading section is. Usually it's not a paragraph. Usually it just says read this many pages, put your bookmark at this page. And then you have them narrate. Then this particular one has an optional activity. The chemistry one had a lot of great videos to go along with them that are at kids level. Some of them are really corny, some are really good. But they were all entertaining to my children and something that they paid attention to well. And so you have all those QR codes to look through that. And then again, you'll see an afternoon occupation. Here they're going to do their special study. Sometimes we do that in the afternoon. Sometimes we do it in the morning. Sometimes we do it on Saturday. It just depends. But you can make it your own. And then you see lesson 3 is an activity. Now this one takes 2 pages. Most aren't that long. This is because you're doing yeah, you're kind of going through the different states of matter and talking about that. And so it's a little bit longer because you have a few more materials and things you're going to do, and it walks you through every single step. You don't have to read this as a script, mama. Read it ahead of time and then just give your kids the gist. And then after the experiment, now this is something that isn't always in a traditional science curriculum. After the experiment, you're going to want your child to narrate. And you're thinking, what? They didn't read anything. No, you want them to narrate what they did. That helps you know if they understood, because we did a couple of experiments. I'm thinking of one in physics particularly, or in tech and engineering. But after we did, they're like, wait, what just happened? What did we do? And so we were able to discuss it. And that's what narration is. It's opening that line of discussion, helping your child to understand and solidify what they did. And this is a wonderful thing. So don't skip the narration part. And then optional is for discussion. You don't have to use those. I don't know, maybe I use them 50% of the time. But if you're struggling to come up with ways to further the discussion, she leads that right in there. And then again, you have afternoon occupation, and that is nature study. And then we just start over, y'all. So there's week 2, teacher prep, nature lore. Let's see here. And natural history and an activity. As you can see, the special study reading is what this one is. So like, if you're already doing that, you don't have to add that in. But that's what it is for week 2. So it was super simple. These don't take very long. I think lessons take about 15, 20 minutes. Kind of depends how much your child wants to discuss, narrate, and how many children you have joining you to do the experiment. Because if you have multiple children like me, you may be doing those certain experiments over and over and over. I will say that I started scheduling this right before lunch because my husband would come home and want to do the experiments with the kids. So, get daddy involved too, because he will love it. But that is the nuts and bolts of Sabbath Mood Homeschool Form 2. I will come back in the future and tell you about Form 3 more, but to be honest, I kind of handed those to my teenager and let her do it at her own pace. And so I need to review them before I review them to you. But these are great. We've used them now with 3 of my kids. They've all responded well, and I really appreciate the way that Nicole lays them all out. And we are ending the cycle because there are 9 different studies. So we're going to do the last 3 this year, and then next year we're going to start back over with my other kids, because some of them only my oldest did, like geology, and only my oldest did. And so we'll cycle back through those, and my older kids will move on to Form 3 ones, and my younger ones will get to join in on the Form 2 ones that they haven't done yet. So that's kind of how that works. If you have any questions about Sabbath Mood Homeschool, their website, how I use these in Form 2, let me know. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had a great time learning about Sabbath Mood Homeschool, and we'll give it a shot this year. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Head over to the blog where I have this kind of written out for you, for those who like to see it in writing. And also, you can always get me on Instagram at Wholehearted Homemaking. Thank you again. Have a great day, and let us go forth and strive to serve our families and the Lord wholeheartedly.